morning?
Good morning,
Very good.
everybody.
Very good.
We got a lot of good stuff on the way for you today. Ice Cube will join us in about
Man, did
an
your
hour.
hair grow overnight? Goodness gracious. Your top of your head looks like a shea.
I saw your eyes.
You gotta stop watering that thing.
Every day, man. Can we just start the television show?
We all wish we had that type of volume in our hair.
Yeah.
All right, so we said Ice Cube is coming up in about an hour. The Rockets as well are trying to make a huge splash in free agency. Kevin Durant has his list down to 3, but we start with Zion Williamson.
Let's go,
Draft,
Zion.
of course, tonight, and shouldn't come as a huge shock. Zion expected to go #1 overall to the Pelicans after an incredible freshman campaign at Duke. Zion is the most hyped prospect since LeBron James, but all that hype, that doesn't get to him.
I don't really see it as pressure. I'm doing what I love to do, and that's play basketball. And I don't try to live up to nobody's expectations. They can set them there, but I don't try to live up to them. I just be me. Try to be the best version of myself I can be.
So, CC, you like what Zion has to say there, but what are the expectations for him?
I mean, the expectations, anytime you get a rare talent like him, the expectations, they're typically always unrealistic. But what we've done is, in following sports long enough, the greatest players, they always live up to it or do beyond. I remember when I was a young kid, I went down to Cincinnati, Ohio to watch the All-American high school basketball game. And there was a guy in the game, his name was Moses Malone.
Oh.
And I was like, how's he going to play pro basketball? He's not a 7-footer. They were like, Moses 6'8", 6'9", grab every rebound, could score 25 to 30 points every night. I was like, wow. So then through the years, I just started trying to adjust my eye to special talented players. There is no one in the NBA like Zion. So what would my expectations be? Man, they're not going to be realistic, but this kid is very rare. At 6'7", 285, the way he can get off the floor, with the way we like exciting things, the high flyer, now with the lob, as easy as it is to get the lobs now, everyone on the court can throw a lob. I think he's going to be a special player. I think one day he's going to be an MVP candidate, but he's the combination of a lot of guys that I've seen. And I've been watching basketball so long, so I'd have to go back. It's easy to compare him to Charles Barkley. But he's a better athlete than Charles Barkley, and at this point in his career, probably can shoot better than Charles could. So we know on the defensive end, he's going to be an excellent player, but I'm just going to name a few players because he's the combination of Draymond Green, Ben Simmons, Julius Randle, and Blake Griffin. All those players. But I just believe he's going to be special on the defensive end. I think people are underestimating when he gets in the NBA, his ability to switch 1 through 5, which, Sarah, you know, right now in the NBA, if you can't do that, you're immediate liability. His second bounce, his second jump is maybe one of the best. David Thompson, Michael Jordan, one of the best second jumps I've ever seen. So I expect him to be special on the defensive end immediately. He's going to be special in transition. I believe he has the type of personality. He's just a young country boy. He's a sponge to information. But the last thing, and I believe this is very important. The Bible says a good name is better than silver and gold. How would you like to have his ability and be named Zion?
There's sometimes in sports, see, guys have the right face or they have the right name, and it just kind of fits with, oh, they're supposed to be a star.
Yeah, OBJ, when he calls me complaining all the time with his good-looking self,
right?
All the ability that he has.
You look at Odell Beckham, and you're like, okay, well, you were going to be famous for something. You know what I mean? Zion Williamson. It's the name fits, the body fits, and the game fits. Listen, it is not hyperbole to say we've never seen a Zion before, which is why the comps are so hard. You went with a handful of contemporary players. Historically, people bring up Barkley with Sean Kemp's leaping, LeBron's body, not the ability to be those players instantaneously or necessarily ever, but you almost have to Frankenstein's monster this thing. You have to build the guy from traits of other people. What are my expectations? My expectations are he will win Rookie of the Year. My expectations are he will average close to 20 points his rookie season. And my expectations are he will have one offensive and one defensive highlight on average a game. One play where it's like, How did he get out to block that shot, and how did he catch that alley-oop? And this is where, even though right around the time of the lottery, people were talking about, is Zion disappointed? Does he not want to be there? Could he go back to Duke? I'm so happy he landed in New Orleans for a number of reasons. One is stylistically. Gentry wants to run. Go, go, go. And now with the Anthony Davis trade, they have Lonzo Ball who will want to run with him. They will have Brandon Ingram who will want to run with him. But the other reason I'm happy he's in New Orleans and that he's not going to be a part of a trade, he's not going to end up in New York City where they were going to try to be competing for a playoff spot or a championship this year pre-Kevin Durant injury, is he does have obvious holes in his game. And if he were, I don't want him to have to deal with what a player as developed and as great as Giannis dealt with in the playoffs this year, which was everyone saying, oh, this is how you guard him.
Yeah, they make
this
you
is
look
how
bad.
you stop him.
Yes.
Ben Simmons would probably be much less criticized if he'd been playing on the Phoenix Suns.
Yes.
Because we
And
wouldn't
we
have
didn't
seen
see
him
them
in
too
the
close to him.
playoffs
Yeah,
where
great
teams try to break down what he can't do. You look at his shot chart from Duke, the guy just simply refuses, understandably, to take mid-range shots. It is everything within 5 feet of the rim and three-pointers because he hasn't developed it yet, and that's fine. That will come along. But if you can get 6 to 8 points on dunks or putbacks, 6 to 8 points in transition, now you only need to make a couple in the half-court plays all game to get to your 18 to 20 points. I think he can have a similar season that Blake Griffin had his first year his second year out of college, his first year playing. And that's my expectation for a guy that, to me, is a generational athlete, and we'll see if that turns into a generational basketball player at this level.
I'm glad you brought up New Orleans and the fit and see. I'm curious what you think about the fact that, you know, when a team has a #1 overall pick, sometimes the roster that they're going to, the personnel they have is not always one that fortifies their game. What do you see, and we'll see what moves David Griffin makes as we continue on throughout the course of this offseason, but playing with guys like Lonzo Ball, if Drew Holiday is there, how he plays Brandon Ingram, just the group that is around him, the youth of the group, and how he can grow with that.
I think it's a very good mix. I think he's very, very fortunate. A lot of times we've seen some of our best players, they get into a situation where, from a front office standpoint, both of you mentioned one person, David Griffin, I believe is very important because right now you could see with the Anthony Davis trade, he's trying to develop this roster, and Zion's not going to be asked to do things that he can't do. So I feel very comfortable the people that are controlling his career. You talked about Gentry as a coach. Man, we saw the night of the lottery. He was excited. He knew what he won. He didn't win the first pick. No, he won the chance to coach Zion Williamson. So the style of play. So I think that they're not going to put too much pressure on him. They're going to put him in a winning situation. So those things, I believe, help make the best players, when they're surrounded and they don't have to do things they can't do early, the supporting cast that they have there, I believe, is critical.
And we as basketball fans are all so fortunate that New Orleans went out and hired David Griffin, because we have the guys can be can't miss-ish, but we don't get to see their full breadth of potential because their teams can't get out of their own way. I would argue that's what happened with Anthony Davis. Everyone knew how good he was, but the team tried to microwave the process, tried to immediately contend because he was so good instantly, and that deprived us of the ability to see Anthony Davis on the big playoff stage repeatedly. David Griffin is not going to make that mistake. He knows what I know, which is the #1 goal, every decision you make for the New Orleans Pelicans over the next 3 to 5 years has to relate to Zion Williamson in some way. How does this affect Zion? Is this good for Zion? Does this help him reach his full potential? Because if he reaches his full potential, he is a league MVP at one point in time. He is one of those guys that can be one of the 7 difference makers in the league. And it's now up to Zion, of course, and the people surrounding him, the grown-ups in the room, to put him in the best situation for that to actually come to place. I believe that's what will happen in New Orleans.